everyone, it's Kristen, and today I'm going to show you how to make perfect half square triangles using a Bloc Loc, which is a really nifty quilting ruler to get precise half square triangles every time. But I'm not gonna lie, these can be a little pricey, so if these are not in your price range, I'm also gonna show you how to create perfect half square triangles with a basic quilting ruler. This one is by Missouri Star Quilt Company, and this one is by OmniGrip. And I will leave a link to where you can find these on the web and purchase them if you don't have them. But you will also need a rotary cutter and a cutting mat. You can use any cutting mat you have on hand. I happen to have this one by Daley. It is a rotating cutting mat. It's not necessary, but it will make your life a whole lot easier, especially if you're cutting out a bazillion half square triangles, trust me. So let's get started. I've got all these half square triangles that need truing up. As you can see, they're a little wonky. They've got dog ears, so it's important to true up your half square triangles to make sure that they're a perfect measurement to what the pattern requires. The pattern that I'm making requires these half square triangles to be 2.5 inches. And again, these are clearly a little wonky, so we're gonna true things up. So to get things started, I'm gonna show you how to do this with the Bloc Loc first. And the cool thing about the Bloc Loc is it has this slot on the wrong side that kind of slips into your seam right here. So it easily just kind of glides along the seam like that. When you make a half square triangle, you typically want to press your seam to the dark side, and that will especially help you with the Bloc Loc. So if you're doing that, you want to make sure that the Bloc Loc logo is on the side of the lightest fabric that you're using. If you're using a print, you know, use your judgment. When you lay the Bloc Loc down on your half square triangle, it should slide seamlessly along the seam that you sewed and pressed. I'm working with a 4.5 inch ruler, and I need to get a 2.5 inch square out of this half square triangle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the markings on my ruler, and as you can see, there's a and as you can see, there's a 1/2 inch section right here, and then 1 inch, 1 inch. So what I want to do is I want to align the edges of my half square triangle so that it fits within that 2.5 inch section right there. I'm going to align it along the edges as best as I can so that the lines are still overlapping the fabric, but you see you just have a little bit of fabric peeking out from beyond it. That's what you're looking for. So once you have that in place, you can see I've got, you know, some extra fabric over here, and that's the fabric that we're going to cut off. We're going to take our rotary cutter, and you know, you want to put a little pressure down just to keep your fabric secure, but you're going to slice one edge off, rotate your mat if you're using a rotating mat. If you're not, move your body around your fabric, and then cut off the other side. So great. Okay, we've got one side of our half square triangle trued up. And the beauty of the Bloc Loc is that you don't have to move or lift anything. You just slide the ruler along that seam again. This time, again, we're going to find that 2.5 inch square cutoff and align our edges that we just cut perfectly along those lines. And you can see what fabric we have left over. So right now we've just got a little bit of a dog ear, and it looks like, you know, just a very, you can't even see it, but just a very minuscule sliver of fabric there that we're going to cut off. And we're going to cut off that dog ear, and just for safety, we're going to just run our blade along the other side. And there we go. We have a beautiful half square triangle. And I'll do that one more time so you can see. Okay, so we have our wonky half square triangle that we're going to true up. We're going to take our Bloc Loc, place our logo over the lightest fabric, and making sure that it's gliding along that seam. It's locked in, hence the name Bloc Loc. And then we're going to find our 2.5 inch mark, our border inside. So this is 2.5 inches, and I'm making sure that my ruler lines are well within, you know, are as close to the edges as possible, but still overlapping the fabric. And any excess fabric beyond that, we are going to cut off later after we're done cutting off this bit right here. Putting a little pressure down to make sure nothing shifts. We're going to cut off that excess fabric right there. Boom. And we've got our trued up edge. Now, without lifting anything, we're just going to slide our ruler down, again, lining up our 2.5-inch markings along those straight edges we just sliced off. So that should be perfect. And now we're going to cut off the excess remaining fabric like so. Ta-da! Perfect half square triangle. Now I am going to show you how to do the same thing using a regular quilting ruler. Again, this one is by OmniGrip. I also have this one by Missouri Star Quilt Company. Again, I need to get this square down to 2.5 inches. So as long as you have a quilting ruler that is 2.5 inches or larger, you're in good company. If you happen to have a 2.5-inch square quilting ruler, I mean, your life is super easy because all you're gonna do is lay it along your half square triangle there, matching up corner to corner. You don't even need a diagonal line across. I mean, it would help, but here you can just match point to point and cut off your, oops. I mean, the thing with this is, with a bigger ruler, you have a little more control over the steadiness. So, you know, you gotta be a little more vigilant about putting pressure down on the ruler to keep things steady, if that makes any sense. So there's this, and then one side. So a little more tricky, but you can get a perfect half square triangle there. Okay, so if you don't have this one and all you have is like, you know, a larger square ruler, let's do that. Unlike the Bloc Loc, which has a groove going diagonally across, a regular square quilting ruler will usually have a simple diagonal line going from corner to corner. We're gonna use that as our guide. Here you can see this one has it as well. So let me see, I think this one should be a little more easier to see on camera. So, okay. This one, you know, doesn't matter which way the label is going. You do want to take note of the 2.5-inch square section right here. So we're gonna lay the diagonal line going straight through that 2.5-inch section on our ruler on top of the diagonal line on our half square triangle. And same thing as the using the Bloc Loc, we're going to align our edges of our half square triangle that the lines on the ruler are covering the fabric with a little, you know, with the excess peeking out beyond, if that makes sense. And here you can see we have our excess fabric that we need to cut off. So again, putting some pressure down on the ruler and slicing that extra fabric away. We have a nice clean edge. So now we're going to lift up our ruler and then just rotate our half square triangle. You want to make sure that the 1/2-inch marks are on the edge of the ruler. So we're going to do the same thing, lining up the seam to the diagonal line. And again, the seams we just sliced off should align perfectly with that 2.5-inch border right there. And then we have our excess fabric that we can slice off. Again, putting some pressure down, slicing it away, boop, and there we go. A beautiful, perfect half square triangle. I hope you found this video tutorial helpful. I know half square triangles can be a bit of a challenge to make, especially if you're new to quilting. But hopefully this video tutorial, you know, demystifies truing up half square triangles and will make your quilting life a little bit easier. If you're new here and you haven't already, feel free to like and subscribe. I'm putting out videos for your viewing pleasure every other week. Happy making, happy quilting, whatever your craft is. I'm so glad you're here. And I will see you in the next video. Bye.